Hello, and welcome to our video on how to play Dungeons & Dragons. In this video, we'll be giving you a brief overview of the game and how it works. Whether you're a complete beginner or just looking to refresh your knowledge, this video should give you a good idea of what to expect when you sit down and play. So what exactly is Dungeons & Dragons? It's a tabletop role-playing game, or RPG for short, that was first published in the 1970s. In a tabletop RPG, players take on the role of characters in a fictional world and work together to tell a collaborative story. In D&D specifically, players often take on the role of heroes, or sometimes villains, who go on quests, fight monsters, and interact with non-player characters or NPCs in a fantasy setting. The game is led by a Dungeon Master or DM who acts as the storyteller and referee and narrates often the description of the environments as well as plays the role of the various NPCs. Before you start playing, you'll need to create a character. In Dungeons & Dragons, you have a lot of flexibility in creating your character. You choose their race, so human, elf, dwarf. There are now hundreds of possible races to pick from. Their class, whether you're a fighter, a wizard, maybe a barbarian, or a cleric of a god. And then their background. Maybe you're a well-heeled nobleman, or a criminal who's grown up on the hard streets of the city of your setting. Perhaps you're a wild outlander who's learned to survive on the prairies and the tundras. Or maybe you're a veteran of a war who's finally retired and looking forward to perhaps a brief, peaceable time as a farmer before whatever fiendish and outlandish plot your DM has concocted for you pulls you back into the action. You'll also assign ability scores, and these represent your physical and mental traits, your strength, your dexterity, your constitution, your intelligence, your wisdom, and your charisma. And then you'll select some skills. Perhaps you're good at oratory and speaking in public, or you're great with 2 weapons. Perhaps you're a master of the shield, or you're able to cast spells faster. And some feats, which are special abilities that you've gained through practice or perhaps an encounter with a powerful magic being. The combination of these factors will determine what your character is capable of doing in the game. For example, if you have a very high strength score, maybe you're good at physical tasks, maybe you're able to lift heavier weights and push things around that other players could not. Whilst a high charisma score may make you good at persuasion. Perhaps you're able to get a better bargain from a shopkeeper or otherwise. Now that you've created your character, it's time to start playing. Your Dungeon Master will describe the setting and the situation your characters find themselves in. And then it's going to be up to you and your fellow players to decide collaboratively what you're going to do. Maybe you're going to explore a new location and check for traps and hidden doors, finding passageways into a dark dungeon containing monsters, but also treasures that you have never thought of or encountered before. Or perhaps you're going to talk to some NPCs, find out some background about the quest that you're on. Maybe discover that some of them have some unique information you wouldn't have found out except by engaging with them in the world. Or maybe you're going to take a more direct approach and walk up to a group of monsters and confront them, perhaps even slay them as part of your journey. As you play, your Dungeon Master will use dice rolls and ask you to make dice rolls to determine the outcome of your action. For example, if you're trying to sneak past a guard in order to be able to retrieve a particular item that you need to be able to carry on the adventure, the Dungeon Master might ask you to roll a dice to see if you succeed at a sneak or a stealth check. The higher the roll, the more likely you are to succeed. The Dungeon Master may secretly also roll a dice to see whether the guard notices you sneaking by. Well, that's a brief overview of how to play Dungeons & Dragons. There is so much more to it than what we've covered here, but that gives you a good starting point, somewhere to go from, so that you're not entirely asking, what's going on here? I don't understand. If you're interested in learning more, there are plenty of resources available online, including the official D&D rulebooks and YouTube videos from experienced players. You can also watch people playing online, telling stories and sharing them with everybody that wants to watch. Those people include us. So why don't you hit subscribe, and maybe you can enjoy some of our stories or a few more of these introductory videos to help you enjoy and explore the new worlds that you and your collaborators imagine together. Have fun!